Well, as far as Bump the La La scenes go, I thought I had seen it all, but apparently no, I haven't, and I'm a little disturbed. But anyway, we're gonna review Monkey Shines. Let's go. Monkey Shines stars Jason Beggy, Kate McNeil, John Pankow, Stephen Root, and is directed by George Romero. What's up, guys? Welcome to a Patreon request. I got a few of these that I'm going to be reviewing here in this session. And this one is Monkey Shines, directed by George Romero, which I didn't know. This one is dedicated to David B. He's given me some really interesting ones in the past. Zombievers was definitely interesting. So that's one thing I love about my patrons. They always give me really interesting movies, oftentimes movies that I've never even heard of, which is cool. I have heard of Monkey Shines. It's one of those movies, I think the name, it sticks out. You know, there's just something about the name, like when you see it and you see the monkey on the cover of it, it sticks out. But I never bothered to really give it a chance to watch it. So,
Ellen, no! No, she did it for me. Did it because I wanted it done.
Again, I'm just glad that my patrons, they kind of give me that push I need sometimes to watch movies that I let kind of pass me by. And this one, was really interesting. And it's George Romero, which I never knew directed this movie. But, outside of his Living Dead films, he did do some other movies, like The Crazies way back in the 70s. George Romero was just, he was a great filmmaker, and he liked to have some kind of subtext in his movies about society in general. And I think I can even see it a little bit in this movie. But the plot itself is quite strange, and quite unique. And there's definitely some behind the scenes stuff that I want to go over in this that I found quite interesting. But first off, let's give you a quick plot synopsis on Monkey Shines. This came out in 1988. Jason Beggy plays Alan. I remember Jason. He was actually in G.I. Jane with Demi Moore. Underrated movie, by the way, G.I. Jane. But he is our main character in this movie. At the very beginning, he is in this relationship with his girlfriend, and it opens up with a little bit of partial nudity. And then he's off for a run. He's one of those runners that likes to challenge himself with putting bricks in a backpack, which is interesting. Never thought of that before. And then he gets hit by I think it's a truck, and he becomes a quadriplegic. He's wheelchair bound, and he can only move his neck, his head. One thing I like about this movie is that it explores, I guess, the trauma that one would go through after, having to change their life. Immediately, I couldn't help but think of like Christopher Reeve, a guy who was so physical. He played freaking Superman, so active, and then this tragedy happens in his life. I'm sure Christopher Reeve went through some trials, some emotional trials through that, especially when you're that active. And this character, he was, very active, very athletic. He was a runner. And, I can think it for myself. There's oftentimes when I think when I'm out running, man, if I lost my legs, that would be really tough. But the movie is called Monkey Shines, and there is a male monkey in this movie. And the reason I say that is because most of the time they use female monkeys in movies. They're just easier to control. But this is one of the rare cases where they actually used a male. But John Pankow plays this scientist working for Stephen Root's character, Dean. And he's doing these experiments on this monkey, giving him these shots. And I'm going to be honest. The whole point of doing all these experiments on this monkey to make it smarter, I guess the reason is, you practice on animals first, and then maybe there could be advancements in humans down the line. I guess that's what he was trying to do. But he is friends with Alan, and he sees this as an opportunity because he would like to do some human trials with this monkey, see how it interacts with humans. And so, he has him kind of be a caretaker a little bit for Alan to help him out with little tasks that the monkey can handle. But because of the medication that the monkey's taking, the injections, it causes a little bit of a mind meld between Alan and the monkey. And he gives the monkey the name Ella. Every time the monkey is around Alan, it brings out more of his primal instincts, and the rage kind of kicks in. He gets angry with people that are around him, like his mother, for example, who's always there trying to help him, and he lashes out at her. And eventually in the movie, he realizes that this is not good for me. It's changing me as a person because I'm around this monkey. And every time he's not around the monkey, then he becomes more normal. Kate McNeil plays Melanie, who comes into the picture. You might remember her from House on Sorority Row, but she's also there as an animal trainer to help with the monkey and also to help out with Alan. And of course, they form kind of a relationship with each other. They fall for each other later in the movie. And then there is a sex scene that I was not prepared for, and it's quite interesting. Especially if you read the behind the scenes on the scene, because there's quite a few scenes in this movie where I'm like, damn, how in the hell did they make this? How did this work out? Especially with the monkey and controlling him and getting him to do all these different things, because there's no CGI here, right? This is all practical, and we all know working with animals and with kids can be trying sometimes, but they're able to do that. And behind the scenes, George Romero, he shot more footage for this film than any other film he had ever done, because, when you're working with a monkey, you have to do take after take after take, and sometimes not even knowing what the scene you're filming, you just want to get some kind of reaction out of it, and then maybe you can marry it up in the scenes later, which is what they did. And I can imagine how daunting that task must be and how many hours it takes up of your day. But also, I guess jumping back to the love scene in the movie, he is a quadriplegic. And, you could tell that he has these feelings for her. And then eventually, she has feelings for him and she gives in. And then I'm thinking, oh, how are they going to do this? Let me just say, I'm not going to give it away, but I've never seen a love scene like this in a movie. I guess the lesson here is it just goes to show that two people love each other, and one of them has limitations. They can still make it work somehow. And I guess that's the best way to put it. But I know behind the scenes, the scene was even more explicit, quite a bit more explicit. And George Romero, in the editing room, he kept kind of tapering it back. That might be to avoid more of a scandalous rating, or just, I guess, from a story beat standpoint, because it really wasn't the point of the movie. But, this is the 80s, and nudity was par for the course in the 80s, especially in horror films. And I really liked Kate McNeil in this, too. I liked her in House on Sorority Row. I think she was a very charismatic, likable actress. And it's a shame because you don't see her in things these days, but I really enjoyed her back then. I did find this movie quite refreshing, though, because this isn't stuff that you see quite often, these types of films, this type of plot. It definitely keeps you guessing, because you never know where this story is going to go. What's going to be the outcome of all of this? Because in the movie, the monkey's dangerous, but I think it's more subtle with the way, I guess, it takes advantage of Alan. And if anybody gets in the way, the monkey might want to kill that person. It's a monkey. It's a primal instinct animal. And with these injections, that's just going to make it even worse. But it's interesting when the monkey comes into the picture, Alan and Ella, their thoughts, they intertwine. And, Alan, he'll have these dreams that he is Ella, and he's, going through the grass, very Sam Raimi type direction in that scene. And I will admit, this is a unique horror film. It's got some really, really creepy stuff in it, but it's definitely unpredictable. And that's one thing I loved about Romero. He didn't follow the studio tried and true format of, giving you just cliche type scares. No, he always was more about the human condition and how can I make things uncomfortable than just, I guess, a standard stock scare. But Alan also had this nurse caretaker by the name of Mary Ann, and the monkey did not like Mary Ann at all. And Mary Ann eventually ends up quitting because she just can't take the stress of it. And it's very dangerous. Now, I got to talk about Stanley Tucci in this movie because he plays this doctor that did this surgery on Alan after he had the accident. I think he did it just so he could get to Alan's girlfriend, played by Janine Turner. Talk about a scummy thing to do to render this guy a quadriplegic. Even scummier is his girlfriend. She doesn't want to deal with having to take care of Alan. And you know what? I gotta say, this movie had the balls to go there because I'm sure taking care of a quadriplegic, no easy feat whatsoever. And it's a job that takes away pretty much 95% of your life. So your free time is pretty much non-existent. And I'm sure there are people like the character Linda in this movie. But the thing that makes her really bad is that she's hooked up with his doctor who operated on him. So then that lingering question in your mind is, did the doctor do this on purpose? And I do have to commend Jason Biggie for taking on the role of a quadriplegic and trying to get through all these emotions that one would have going through that process. Some of the reactions that he has are a little strange, a little weird. Maybe another take or two would have gotten something better. So there are a few moments like that, but in the end, I guess it kind of makes the movie even more memorable. I always say I'd rather you go too far than not far enough as far as an acting performance, and he definitely gives it his all, so I have to give him that. Now, talking a little bit about the behind the scenes, Romero had his own cut of the movie that he wanted to put out, but this was his first movie working under a big studio system, and it was a rude awakening for him. He didn't have the creative freedom that he had when he was working more independent, with his Night of the Living Dead films. And after this, he stated that he never wanted to work with a big studio again. I think he did eventually down the line, but this was just a really bad experience for him. And the studio, I guess in his mind, they butchered his film. So I don't think he was completely happy with the finished result. It wasn't a big hit at the box office either, so maybe George was right. So overall, I'm going to give this movie a high humdrum. I found it very interesting, and in these days where everything seems like rinse and repeat, it is kind of refreshing to watch something that you don't see that often. So, have you seen Monkey Shines? Let me know down in the comments. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day on Fridays, Rudy Free for Fridays. Follow my Drumdums on my social, support me on Patreon, buy me coffee. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Drumdum out.